Yeah. So today what I'm presenting is on keyword sign is for everyone and including your little ones. So we talk about current trends, what's total communication, what keyword sign approach is, why do we use keyword sign, and what's a keyword sign approach, or using a whole school approach, and some of the resources that are currently available. So why do I say that keyword sign is for everyone? Including the little one. So currently what we know of keyword sign is that it is used in our special school or early intervention centers with children with developmental needs. But we know that there's a trend in children having delayed speech now. And from newspaper articles or research in the last few years, if you look at right in the middle, with the AAP having shifted communication milestones to at least 1 to 18 months later, children are achieving or gaining developmental milestones or communication milestones at a slightly later age. On the left is that there's COVID-19 for the last 2 or 3 years, and that did have impact on speech and language as well. That's our local newspaper from Straits Times, and there were more referrals to our national hospitals, pediatric hospitals, regarding speech and language issues. With COVID-19, with the use of masks as well, children weren't attaining speech and language milestones simply because all of us have to be masked up. And we know that children learn through what they see and what they hear. So that had quite an impact on it. Okay. And why is speech important? There's a lot of benefits to having speech. And two of it is theory of mind, the ability to think what others think and feel and are thinking about. And without that words or ability to express themselves, it's hard to develop theory of mind skills. The other is also emotional granularity. So that's the ability to put emotions into words. And when children do not have the words, oftentimes what we see is that it then become an emotional outburst. They are throwing tantrums because they can't communicate. And we often hear you need to name it to tame it. So if they don't have speech, what other ways can we help them to express themselves? Okay, and that's where total communication comes in. So total communication is the use of alternative and augmentative communication. So that's AAC. It ranges from low tech to high tech. And the ultimate goal is for individuals, or children, to be able to communicate even if they are unable to speak yet. Okay, so there are many different modes of communication. Speech is what we use most commonly and most widely. But besides speech, if you are in the early intervention or special ed background, you know that of pictures, using the use of pictures. So we have PACs or we have pictures, or else there's assistive devices or communication apps that help us. Today, I'm just going to concentrate on the use of gestures, namely keyword sign. Okay, and what is keyword sign? Keyword sign is an unaided, so there's no technology involved. We have our two hands. It mainly uses our two hands to communicate with one another. Okay, and it uses, so we use our two hands to communicate and to augment the most salient words in a sentence. Okay, so what we do is that we just need to, as we speak, we sign the most important words. Okay, so for this example, go and wash your hands and eat lunch. So I don't have to sign every single word in that sentence, just the main points. And how does that help? For me, the speaker, as I speak and I sign, it helps me to slow down. Okay, so that helps our children or individuals to process what I say more easily, because I slow down my speech. They are not only listening, they are also looking. Okay, we also, as we speak and sign at the same time, we tend to use simpler and more repetitive vocabulary, and that helps our little ones to acquire vocab and language more easily. Okay. So sign language and keyword sign, you might ask, what's the difference? If I sign and I speak, am I using sign language then? But it's not, it's too. So sign language, it is the language natural to our hearing impaired. Whereas visual representation of English, it is a form of, is augmentation, okay? So sign language is visual manner way of communication. So with keyword sign, it is a visual representation of English. Okay. Sign language, they have their own grammatical system, their own linguistic system. So they have their own grammar markers, which is different from English, which is different from Mandarin, which is different from Malay or any other languages. So they have their own set of grammatical system, and they doesn't relate to any grammatically. Whereas for keyword sign, it takes on the language, the spoken language. So if I speak in English and I sign just the keywords. I can also do likewise. I can speak in Mandarin and I sign. So the signs are the same, but my sentence structure is dependent on the spoken language. Okay. Okay, so the keyword sign approach. Yeah, I'm having a bit of difficulty because I can't see my screen. There's a pop-up. Wait, huh? Okay. Okay, so it doesn't have any grammatical markers, and it's being used all over the world. Okay, so it takes on the country's natural signing system. So you might ask me, where I'm from Singapore, is keyword sign new to Singapore? Are we the only country that starts using it? Actually, no. We have it all over the world and they call it different things. Okay, so in America, the sign language system is American Sign Language, ASL. The visual representation of English, the equivalent is Signing Exact English, SEE. In Australia, it's Auslan for the sign language. And in keyword sign, they call it keyword sign Australia. Okay, British Sign Language, the equivalent is a Makaton. In Singapore, it's SGSL. And because I think a lot of us are trained in Singapore and we do work closely with our Australian counterparts, and we do have to differentiate between keyword sign Australia, we call ourselves keyword sign Singapore. Okay, so if you're looking for resources or signs and you're working in Singapore, so do look out for the differences when you type in keyword sign. There are differences in the signs between the Australian one and the Singapore one. Okay, and why do we use keyword sign? Apart from it being total communication and our goal of having children to communicate, we want to strengthen a child understanding of the power of communication, letting them know that even if they cannot speak, that we give them a way to communicate with us. And this time, it is not with pictures, it might not be with a high-tech app, it is with our two hands, okay? And it helps our child to understand the concept, so not only expressive, but also receptive, okay? Before they start putting words and signs together to form sentences. What does research tells us about that? There's lots of research being done. It helps both expressive and receptive language. So not only our output, but because they are receiving information, the communication partner is speaking and signing at the same time, they are receiving information multimodally, okay? And because we speak slower, it allows our partners to, the children to have more time to understand information, okay, to process that information. The boundaries are more perceptible, okay, when we sign as we speak, so it reduces complexity and that helps with understanding. Okay, because it is multimodal, not only listening, but it's also not only auditory, but it's also visual. And if the child signs together, that's kinesthetic as well. And we know that that helps with learning, okay? Also, when the child communicates through keyword sign, the communication partner signs or the parents or the teacher sign, what do they have to do is they have to look at us. And that's often a prerequisite for language learning, right? So that's an added bonus, not only learning to communicate, but the foundation, your pre-linguistic skills. Okay. They have also found that keyword signs or the use of gestures have helped to free up with cognitive capacity There's additional clarification of clarifying input, and that when children speak and sign at the same time, they remember more words as compared to when they didn't gesture. Okay, lastly, there's transference in a new language. So in a multilingual society like Singapore, we have English and also the 3 main national language. Oftentimes, there's more than one language spoken at home or at school. So what happens in school is that English teacher speaks and sign at the same time. Our Mandarin teachers also speak and sign at the same time, but our child might only be proficient in English and is still picking up their mother tongue. But if the child knows this as eat, if the Mandarin teacher say 吃 and she signs at the same time, the child might not understand the word yet, but with that sign, the child knows immediately, oh, this is 吃, this is eat in Mandarin, and then it helps them to pick up a second language a bit faster. Okay, so what can we do in a school setting? Whole school approach. So our children are the beneficiaries. Speech therapy trains the teacher uses it with children, and oftentimes we hear that children goes home to use keyword sign as well, and then we have parents asking, hey, what's this that you are signing? And then that gets them all interested, and the teachers go on to also teach the parents or inform them about the keyword sign that they are learning at school. Okay. And research has found when we use keyword sign as a whole school approach, there's a stronger emphasis in accessibility that is genuine and relevant. And why is that so important? Because if I can sign and Ro doesn't sign, I can't communicate with her. Okay, but if I only teach the children who needs the sign, then it's limited to just 2 or that few children. But if everyone learns it together, then there's more people that the child can communicate with, and then they feel valued, and there's a genuine change. So it's not us speaking on behalf of those who can't speak or those who doesn't have speech, but we give voice to everyone equally in the classroom. Okay, so we found that when we use keyword signs in schools, there's increased participation. So even the child who have yet to have speech yet, they begin to participate more and become more proactive in their requests, in what they want, in participating in lessons. There's also an appreciation of diversity also, because now when you see sign language on the national TV, you are not able to understand everything, but there are certain signs that you can pick up because we use the signs from SGSL. Okay, so when can you embed keyword signs? So here are some suggestions. During lesson time, you can do it during songs. When you sing the songs, because it's repetitive, there are words and it catches the child's attention. It is a quick and easy way for our children to learn. Also, book reading is a good one because it's thematic, and children often love to read books over and over again, the same book, and we can use that to repeat or emphasize or maybe teach different vocabs at different point of time. We can also concentrate on certain themes. Let's say if it's emotion that we are learning about this week or these few weeks, then we can concentrate on the different words about emotions. Or if it's about colors, and then we can focus on just learning about the signs for different colors in the next few lessons. And if Christmas is coming up and to prep ourselves for the different Christmas activities, then we can learn signs all about Christmas. Okay, the next one, routines, is a good one because it happens every day. So it provides us with many different opportunities throughout the day to practice using the signs. So for example, during mealtime, these are some of the signs. So there's eat, there's more, there's help, there's foods that you can sign, or the different specific foods that the child is requesting or eating that day. During toilet time, you can sign wash hands, toilet, or taking on and off shoes. The child can ask for help. The child can say thank you, if a classmate helps to take the shoes for the child. Okay, the other one is transition from one place to another, or even requesting for certain activities. So these are the words that we can sign or introduce to our children during this routines. So there's play, toilet, sleep time, shower, and milk, simply because they will request it every day, and it's words that are functional to them. Okay, and from school to home or home to school, there's bye-bye, there's home, time to go, see you tomorrow. So if you just look through these few routines and transitions and lessons, there's actually many different signs that you can actually start using and introducing to our children already. Okay, so here are some resources that you can refer on. These are YouTube videos to give you some ideas on how you can start introducing keyword signs to your children or to your students. Okay, and these are, sorry, the references. Okay, and thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Alison. That was really fantastic. Thank you. Yes, wonderful. So after Alison, we're going to kind of move straight into Sarah's sharing, and then we'll open it up for questions to the group. But Alison, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ro.
Yes, we can definitely share. Alison, Fiona's asking if it's possible to get a copy of the references and the QR code.
Sure.
Yeah, perfect. So if you wouldn't mind popping that, maybe even the links into the chat.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, Sarah, I'm ready.
Okay, hello everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a bit. Right now, I can only see my screen, so I can't see all of you.
I think that's because you've been spotlighted.
Ah.
We can remove the spotlight from you so that you can see the group.
Okay, that's fine.
Can you see the group now?
Yeah, I can see a few. Yeah. I guess I'm okay. All right. So thank you very much for coming. Alison kind of shared a lot of the more knowledge-based stuff. So I thought I would actually share some more, it's not really soft skills, but I think some lessons that I have learned working with individuals, working in the field of AAC. So just to introduce myself, I'm Sarah, and I work, I am the clinical head at the Assistive Technology Center in Singapore, and it just means that I get to kind of work with a team of individuals who really look into. We have a team of individuals who really look into assistive technology, and augmentative and alternative communication is really at the heart of what we do. So that's my job by day. In my free time, I'm also very much part of the ISAC committee, and it's been really exciting to see how ISAC Singapore has really grown from a little organization that really started off as let's just come and get together and come together and share our ideas and really find out what each other is doing to what we are now. And I think I'm very proud of the committee, because at the very beginning, we wanted it to be an organization, not just for individuals who use AAC, but we wanted them to be at the heart of individuals who use AAC and caregivers to be at the heart of what ISAC does. So yeah, so I'd like to actually share, I guess not by world standards, but by Singapore standards, I am kind of old in the field of working in AAC. I've done this for a little while, and I would say that this through my years working in AAC, it is really, I've really had the privilege of working with many individuals who use AAC and their caregivers. And I'm a speech therapist by training, and I would say with no bias that it is actually one of the most interesting and exciting fields in speech therapy. So I count myself very blessed to be able to be in this field. So I want to share some things that I actually learned working with individuals who use AAC and their caregivers. So this is not going to be hard knowledge, but I think that it's something that we actually should think about as we really work in this field. And I hope that it will provide some insights and probably bring some aha moments to those of you who are working in this field of AAC. The first thing is that as a person who works with individuals with AAC, you are working with a person and you're not working with a project. And so a lot of times, especially as speech therapists, we come in with this agenda that we're going to teach a certain skill. Even with parents, we're coming in with an agenda that we're going to teach a certain skill. So we, learn about whatever, the Hannon approach or some voice therapy. And we say, I'm going to teach this skill to this person. And a lot of times that's how we approach the people that we are working with. But I think we need to remember that we are working with a person, and therefore our primary role and our primary responsibility is to help this person, help facilitate this person's personality coming out, right? And it's also very much about communication. So a lot of times, as much as we would want to, teach a particular skill or teach a particular app or make sure that person really learns, and, as much as we look at, what are some of the resources, this is really very, in many of our questions, what are some of the resources that, we can use to actually learn how to teach AAC? We need to actually remember that actually we are working with a person. And so maybe beyond looking at strategies, we need to actually focus on things that actually develop the relationship. So for example, waiting. When we we work with our individuals with AAC, do we actually wait for them to actually give their responses? When we talk to them, are we actually expecting responses? Things like waiting, things like modeling. When we model with our AACs, we are actually saying that we are using the same, I care enough to use the same language as you. So do we ask the person that we work with, are we asking their opinion? So to tell you a little story, I used to work with an individual who had cerebral palsy, and he was about 50 before he got his AAC system. And it was a voice-activated system, and he actually typed on a keyboard, and there was a voice that came out. So I would work with this person, and I would ask this person, what is your opinion of something? And that person would just scratch his head and tear his hair out and get very, 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 very stressed and frustrated. And it wasn't because this person was not smart. It wasn't because I had not taught him how to use his AAC device. And it wasn't because he was not capable of having opinions, but it was because no one had asked him his opinion for this 50 years. So he did not really know what an opinion was. No one had cared to ask him what he thought about anything. Everything was being told to him or done for him. And so basically I had to realize that other than actually teaching him how to use his AAC device, other than making him besides actually making sure that he knew his vocabulary. I had to make sure that I treated him as a person. I asked his opinion. What do you think about this, John? And then I waited for him to actually give his opinion. And when he gave his opinion, I treated it as though it was an important opinion and responded to it. So I guess this is something that we need to remember. And I think one of the most touching comments that I actually heard from a parent was, she said, so we were working with individual. Her son was about, I think, 13 or 14 years old. He had some speech, but it was very difficult for him to be understood. He was quite dyspraxic. Sometimes his speech was very unclear. We got him on a device, a speech generating device, and he was communicating. And she went through our caregiver training at where I was working. And she said to me, she said that, you know, last time, Sarah, before my child got AAC, I used to talk to my child. Now I talk with my son. And so I think that we need to really remember, we're actually working with a person. We're not working with a project. And so besides, sometimes we might have to actually stop trying to model, stop making this person, telling this person that you have to actually reply to what I have said. You have to say this, you have to say that. We might have to just wait and see what they say through their device, and then respect it, and then communicate again. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we need to look for potential, but assume nothing. And I'll tell you again 2 stories, because as I said, I'm quite old, which hopefully will give you also some aha moments. The first story is, so we need to look for potential, but we need to make sure that we don't assume that we have a picture of what success is, or a picture of who can actually produce this success or communication. So I'll tell you 2 stories. So the first story was, I saw this individual who had a brain injury. He was, I think, a young man in his 20s or 30s, and he was found at the bottom of his bed, and he had a very severe head injury. We don't know whether he had a stroke and then fell off his bed, or he fell off his bed and then had a hemorrhage. But basically, he was very severely disabled, very limited speech, and had he was in a wheelchair, hand control very limited. And he had been coming to see me, and we had been trying AAC, and I had been like, it was almost like talking, to a wall. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not sure whether this person is really understanding what I am saying. I'm not sure whether he can actually respond to me. I don't really know whether what I'm doing works. And so one day we had finished our session, and in this desperation, I said, we're done with our session. Would you like a break? If you would like a break, show me like one like this. If you would not like a break, show me this. And this young man, which I thought, I'm not doing anything, he can't understand anything I say, lo and behold, very slowly went like that. And I was just flabbergasted. I'm like, wow, you really understood what I said. So never assume anything. The second story that I want to tell is of a young man. Some of you may have heard this story, because I think this story would go, if I had a wall of shame, this would go on my wall of shame. So I had an individual with autism. He was about 6, and he had quite a lot of stimming. It would be difficult for him to sit still. He would kind of run around and around. And his mom came to us to do an AAC assessment. And so I was working with him, and we prescribed an AAC device that had symbols. Okay. And so I was he and I were working on this AAC, this speech generating device that actually had symbols on it. And and we were doing a coloring activity. So I was pressing the symbols, and we were making sentences like, I like red, I like blue, because we're using crayons, right? So like, what color do you want? I want red, I want blue. And it was going fairly okay. And all of a sudden, this young man actually grabbed my crayon, and he wrote, Ro, if you can show the next slide. He actually wrote this. It said, iPad message. And my eyes just went so big, because, and I looked at him and I said, you can spell? And he looked at me with these wide eyes, and I can never forget. He looked at me like, you're such a stupid woman. How come it took you so long to figure this out? And this boy had been able to spell all this time. And yet because I had this image in my head, I was thinking, this boy has autism. He's not sitting still. He's running about. When I talk to him, he doesn't seem to be listening. He must not know how to spell. He must not have literacy. And I didn't even consider that in my assessment. And turns out that this boy, this is something that we prescribed him with a keyboard and with some symbols, and a lot of symbols. So I think that's the second thing. One is you're dealing with a person. Second thing is that you must never assume anything, but always open your eyes to see whether there is something beneath the surface. And our clients always surprise us, right? The third thing is, it really takes a village to work when you're working with a person with AAC. And I'm not going to belabor this point, but I will show you a video. It's about a 7-minute video, and it's about one of the young men that I work with. He and his mom actually are key pillars of our AAC. I don't know whether you're here, Fadila. Are you here? No? Okay.
No, not this evening.
Yeah. So Fadila and Saifullah are one of the key pillars of our of AAC. And Fadila and Saifullah was like, this was a video taken of Saifullah when he was maybe like 10 or 12. Now Saifullah is like 19, and a very, very accomplished young man who has his own AAC system. So anyway, this is the story of him when he first got his AAC device. And I thought it was a really good video, a very nice video, because it really shows how the different individuals came together to really work with Saifullah, and that it really doesn't, AAC is really not just about the people like us, the professionals that work with the individual. It's about the caregivers, it's about the people in the community, and most important, it's about the person who uses the AAC himself. So I think this video will speak for itself. We'll just watch a snippet of about 7 minutes. There is more, so maybe we can put the link in the chat if you want to watch the whole thing. Yeah, so let's watch this, and then I'll have a few more comments, and then we can go to discussion.
You have to say your name first.
Yes. P.
Yes. No. Yes.
Special.
Everyone wanted him to say his name, right? But he didn't want to say his name.
He wanted to say I'm special.
Well. Okay, I think we can stop there. Yeah, so you kind of get the idea. As I said, AAC is a wonderful field to be in, and it really does take a village. So for those of you who are working with individuals with AAC, you're not alone. Find your like-minded people, and just continue to work at it. We are here, AAC Singapore, and yeah, for those who are using AAC as well, don't give up. Bear with the people that are working with you, and hopefully together we can really make communication happen. Thanks.